So welcome to another installment of the Center for Digital Strategy's Brit Technology series. We're lucky today to have Howe with us, Director of Anywhere Consumer Research at the Yankee Group. Carl, welcome.
It's great to be here.
You talked about the concept of anywhere being a significant technology trend, maybe as big as the internet itself. How will consumers see the effect of this anywhere access and use it to consume information in the future?
Well, anywhere is really a simple idea. It's the idea that we will have access to the Anywhere network, something that connects all devices that can make use of it through all of our days and all of our lives. This ubiquitous connectivity is literally going to change more lives on the planet than any other. As a matter of fact, it is our assertion that Anywhere is perhaps the largest technology change in our lifetimes. It's bigger than the internet, it's bigger than the PC revolution. It's a very large change in all of our lives. You can already see this when you think about how consumers are interacting with each other through services like Facebook and Twitter, how we interact with media, the fact that people are now getting their television online, and even how we interact with things. There's going to be a whole network of things out there that we make use of every day. So it's a big change.
Mm-hmm. Mobile advertising has taken a lot of cues initially from the internet, using banners and things like that. Do you think mobile will open up new doors, new paradigms for how advertising will be used?
I think mobile is going to completely change the advertising game. In fact, I don't think you're going to be able to recognize a lot of mobile advertising. And the reason is that we've been thinking about mobile advertising entirely in this banner mentality that grew up on the internet. But the reality is when people are walking down the street, when they're talking on their phone or using their phone at the same time, they're not going to stop what they're doing, go off and view an ad, and come back. What's more likely to happen is that consumers will start using applications or branded experiences on their phones that, oh, by the way, happen to be advertising a product or a brand. And I think that's a much more likely scenario where mobile will start to take off.
There's been a proliferation of mobile application in recent years, and many take the form of advertising or brand building for companies. Do you think some of these are just kind of gimmicky apps, a fad, or are we going to see companies continue to invest in mobile apps as a major way to drive consumer interest and purchases?
Well, the mobile app gold rush is perhaps the biggest phenomenon we've seen in the last few years. It's so funny. It was a business that was sleepy and not going anywhere in the first half of the 2000s. But with the advent of the Apple iPhone and when they launched the iTunes App Store, it really caught fire. And think about it. We went from the middle of 2008 when there were 0 apps on iPhones to this point where there's about 3 billion or so downloads. That's an amazing change. And the money has followed. Today, mobile apps are about a $1.5 billion business just in the United States. That's not even including the rest of the world. And we expect it to grow past $11 billion by 2014. And this is mainly made on applications that are 99 cents, $2.99, very inexpensive things. In many ways, they cost about the same as a copy of People magazine, and they have about the same shelf life too.
Should companies actively include mobile advertising in their marketing strategy today? Or is it still too soon to consider mobile a viable and reliable channel?
I think mobile has to be a part of any advertising campaign nowadays. And the reason is that consumers are getting blinded by advertising. The average consumer is seeing well over 2,000 ads per day. And the funny thing is they're actually seeing more of them online than they do on television. So cutting through that clutter is very hard to do. And the funny thing is this mobile phone, a device you have with you nearly every minute of every day, is an ideal way to cut through it because we have a relationship with our mobile phone that perhaps we don't have with a television set. So it's a very personal device. It's a way to access the person rather than the household. So I think mobile is going to be important. It's not going to be important from it's going to drive gazillions of dollars. It's going to build your brand in a very personalized way.
Measurement has come up a lot when people talk about mobile and advertising. How are companies dealing with the question of measurement when it comes to mobile advertising today?
The challenge for marketers is that there's so many metrics to choose from. And frankly, it's one of the great challenges. Every channel of advertising, television, internet, mobile, uses different metrics, and they mean different things. So there's no easy answer to saying this is the right metric to use. I think that marketers really have to focus much more on what results they get for their product and for their brand. And you can't do it on a, this is today's metric, this is next week's metric. It's got to be on a long-term basis. It's really about building a relationship with the consumer and in some sense, building a trusted brand with the consumer. There's a famous marketer who once said, you don't own your brand, you rent it from the consumer. Mobile is a way to establish the relationship and say, well, you didn't buy our brand last month, you should buy it this month because it's that relationship that we have.
We've talked some about mobile apps, applications in general being very popular these days. Are there some companies that are getting it right, that are especially successful in using apps to engage consumers?
When I think about mobile apps, I think about companies like Red Laser that creates an app that allows you to scan barcodes and go comparison shopping. I think about even companies like Amazon. Amazon has both a great mobile app and they have a great shopping app on the iPhone. However, I find it very hard to sort of pick out individual companies because everybody does something a little different.